Hey everybody, today we are prepping for my players finally entering the Netherdeep, so let's dig in. Welcome back everybody. So in our last session, which we've got a video for, you can go check that out, my players spent their last couple of days really in Ank'Harel and they're ready to head into the Netherdeep. So before we do that, I like to go reread the chapter in more detail. I have gone through in detail, read through chapter 6, the Netherdeep, and left some notes, and we're going to look at those in our resources here on our Notion notebook. If you would like to take a look, a link for this is in the description below. Here at resources, we've got our campaign outline, and then at the top we've got quick glances in chapter 6, the Netherdeep. A couple different sections for this. We've got changes from the book, and the biggest one for me is the Apotheon may or may not try to put a wedge between the rivals and my party. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to have the rivals involved in the Netherdeep, but we'll see. It provides interesting interactions for your party if that's something that you'd like. We'll see how that goes. Something I'm thinking about. The goals for my party are goals that they should have. I should help them understand that their goals are finding a way to close the rift because they are members of the Library of the Cobalt Soul at this point, and that is the Cobalt Soul's primary purpose is to get this thing closed, and then the second is to save Alexion. Quests. There's no real quests that are offered while you're down here. It's literally you're just a big giant dungeon, so the biggest quest is just to save Alexion. NPCs, there are a bunch of these that you can kind of run into in what they call living memories in the book. I didn't write them all down, but here's some of them, like Alexion's parents, Sakiri, who is a drow who died during a hunt in Alexion's youth, and Theonathope, which is probably a young Alexion, kind of can guide them around in parts of the Netherdeep. And then there's Perigee, the diva, who fought alongside Alexion in his final battle. So here's some of the key ones that I picked out. There are others that the party can run into throughout the Netherdeep, the living memories especially. Secrets and clues, these are things I write down as I am going through the book that would be helpful for my players to know, so that I can provide these to them as we are exploring the Netherdeep or as they are talking to people about the Netherdeep or whatever. The first is a creature must possess a fragment of suffering if they're to enter the Heart of Despair. Maximum number of fragments a creature can possess is 3, and then they can be transferred between creatures. And then this is Apotheon lore. It's straight from the book. I pulled these out and put these in here so that I can mark off which ones I have read to my party or revealed to my party, because you're supposed to reveal these in order. There are specific points in the Netherdeep chapter where you're supposed to do this. Also, if they take a short or long rest, there's a few different conditions that if they do, then you are supposed to read one of these little statements. So I've got all of these here. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're in the book if you're interested. Magic items. I go through and list all of these because I like to go to homebrewery.com, type them in, and then I print them off and hand them to my players. I'll have a link for this in the description below if that's something you're interested in. One thing worth noting, I think the spell scroll has a typo. It says spell scroll of teleport, but it's not. It's a spell scroll of Autoluke's resilient sphere. So just something to note. I've just marked it off, crossed it. I don't know if you can see this, but I've just crossed it out and written it in my own handwriting. It's fine. It works for me. If you're interested in printing these off, cutting them out, handing them to your players, link for that will be in the description below as well. Here they all are. We're not going to go through all of them. You can read the book, find those as well. And then the transition, the biggest thing is they just need enough fragments to enter the Heart of Despair, which will lead us into the finale, which I'm pretty excited about. It's crazy to think that we're almost here, but we're pushing pretty hard to get through this at this point. We regularly play about every other week, and now we're pushing every week. And the reason for that is one of my players is moving here pretty quick, so we're trying to get through it before they move so they can participate in the finale. Fingers crossed we can make it. One other thing I did in preparation for this is in locations in our database. We scroll down to the bottom. Here's the Netherdeep. I have prepped this, and then I've got battle maps for each of the living memories, and these I got from Cat Valkyrie. I'll provide a link for that in the description below. Absolutely amazing work if you're interested in that. And then I've got the Netherdeep here. This is just a quick reference guide for me if I need to look at something real quick instead of like digging through the book. I have information for each of the rooms. So I've got where all the fragments are. I've got basic descriptions of the dungeon itself, light, ruidium, lots of it here, how to find secret doors, water pressure. These are just things straight from the book. I've got some lore, when you can find the lore. So short rest, we talked about that. Fragments absorbed, somebody falls unconscious, or there's other places in the book that it's noted. So here are the different locations. There's 3 of them, like big sections of the Netherdeep. The first is the Grottos of Regret. I've got a whole bunch of notes for these. And in this section is where you see the living memories. So you're transported into a memory of Alexion's past where he kind of reveals to you different things that kind of got him where he is. And you try and help him come to grips with what has happened, basically. The biggest things here to note are like placating the Apotheon's regret, how to make him feel better. And then the other is you can potentially have positive effects on the final battle. So I've noted each of those in the same color, so blue for the regret and pink for positive effects for each of the different rooms. As we go throughout this, I want to keep track of those so that we get to the final battle, the right things have happened. So I've got like notes for the different monsters as well, links to the different locations if there's a living memory battle map. You can just scroll through and see all of this. I've got like links for treasure, all color coordinated for me so that it's nice and easy and quick if I need to look up something. Checks or saves are in green, damage and important information is kind of in purple, and then the different rooms are in orange. So you can see all of that. Anytime anytime I need like a table or something, I've just snipped it and pasted it in here. If you're interested in that, link for this is in the description below. Since this is the final dungeon for the campaign, I'm going through and trying to craft all the rooms. So here's one of the rooms where one of the fragments can be placed. I've been crafting these. If you're interested in this, I'll provide a link for this as well so you can go check these out. My hope is that I can keep up with the crafting, keep up with my party as they traverse the Netherdeep. And if not, that's okay. We'll just use a TV screen like we have been, use the digital map. So that's totally fine. But hopefully we can keep up with this because it's a lot of fun. The other thing is normally I provide a bunch of cardstock minis. I'm not going to do that this time because I've got a 3D printer. So I'm just printing off the minis and trying to paint them as well and try and keep up with that. So we're using actual minis, physical stuff this time because I have the resources and means to do so. Now that we've talked about the Netherdeep and how I'm prepping for it, how we're going to run it, let's talk about prepping for our next session. So we've got our characters here. We've got Chosen, our bugbear barbarian, Dimitri, our gnome fighter, Iris, our halfling warlock who recently got her patron, a new patron. We have Jimmy, our sea elf druid, and Trixie, our human artificer / wizard. Strong start. My party is going to receive a letter here. This is. I'll provide a link for this as well. This is pretty tailored to my party because the Knights of Elixion is what they're called, and then the Crimson Company is what the rivals are called. But my party in the last session asked if the rival party wanted to meet up with my party and head down into the Netherdeep together. I want them to be separated. So the Allegiance of Alsight has asked the rivals to go and do their own thing. Super important mission, so they can't get it. So they're going to have this letter delivered to my party who's staying at the Library of the Cobalt Soul, or will be at the Library of the Cobalt Soul. Basically telling them all of that. They will then be escorted to Jamil's office, who will tell them and give them the down low and dirty on the final Cobalt Soul mission. That brings us to our scenes. So Cobalt Soul mission number 6 is 7 days. It's been about 7 days now. We kind of left off in that position from the previous mission. Jamil's going to tell them how things have escalated between the Consortium and the Allegiance, how both of them are trying to be stockpiling ruidium, trying to basically nuclear arms race one over the other, see who can get the most and take out the other. The Cobalt Soul fears that if this can't be stopped, it's just going to take off to a point that there is no return and it's going to do more damage than good. I'll also let them know that the Allegiance is sending in the Adventurers as a group of adventurers. It's the rivals. My party already knows this, but he'll reinforce the fact that they need something of ruidium to be able to survive the pressure in the Netherdeep. He's going to task them with a way to find a way into the Netherdeep, which my party has kind of already understood from talking with the rivals at the end of our last session, and then see if they can find a way inside the Netherdeep to close the rift. For rewards, there's nothing really appropriate. He's going to express to them there's no real reward for being able to do this. He can't think of anything because of such a valuable service that they'll be providing, but he'll start with 2,000 gold pieces each. So the rivals, where they have been sent when they eventually meet up with my party again, is they'll have been tasked with checking out a secret storehouse for the Consortium, so they're not able to come with the party now. So they're going to go check out the storehouse and see what they can find. So the Netherdeep itself, I've just got a link to that location we had talked about earlier, and then I've got ruidium reminders. And then ruidium reminders, I've just got a little snippet here of what happens at each exhaustion level. I also have gone through and pulled this straight from the book. This is everything about ruidium in the front of the book, as well as the exhaustion levels, spell components, all these different things. I've bolded what I think is important. I'm going to have this in front of me as we run through this. I will have a link for this in the description as well below if that's something you're interested in grabbing. Secrets and clues, we're kind of running towards the end of this, so there's not a whole lot left other than like the Apotheon lore. We talked about these already, just the fragments of suffering and how important those can be. NPCs, we have Jamil, who is the head of the Library of the Cobalt Soul that they'll run into, and then potentially the rivals, as well as Elixion and any NPCs that are in the Netherdeep itself. Monster stat blocks. So I've only pulled the first 4 rooms worth of stat blocks because I don't expect my party to get past the 4th room. If they do, it's not a big deal. We can pull open our book and find them, no problem. So in the first room, the antechamber, we have 2 light devourers and a slithering bloodfin, so I've got their stat blocks here. And then the next room we have in the living memory, we have a bunch of berserkers. I think there's 6 of them that they can face. They're basically farmers in Elixion's home village that have using the berserker stat block, so that's there. And 3, and again, living memories, the Drow elite warrior who is kind of the Sakiri. We talked about her, I think, in the NPCs a little bit ago, but she's using the Drow elite warrior stat block, and then they can go track down a couple of owlbears who eventually turn into swarms of sorrowfish. And if they decide not to go hunt and go try and approach Sakiri and help there are some scouts, I think 4 of them, that can potentially try and stop the party. A couple ways to get out of that, but here's the stat block just in case. The 4th area, we have Sword Wraith warriors, Sword Wraith commander, and then some commoners. The commoners are there just in case. They're not going to do any actions or anything on their turn, but in case they need to roll anything, I've got that all here, and just their hit points and that kind of thing. I probably should know this offhand, but I don't, so it's there. Treasure I expect my party to run into in the first 4 rooms is just the first fragment, the fragment of Despondence. I think that'll be eye-opening for my party. The other thing that I want to mention, I guess, now that we're here, is inside the Netherdeep, when they get there, I'm going to have them all roll for ruidium corruption, because only Chosen has experienced any ruidium corruption at this point. So once they all get there, boom, they're going to get hit in the face with all the ruidium. It is the source of ruidium, so I'm going to have them roll for that, and we'll continue to roll for that as they are exposed throughout the Netherdeep. That is pretty much it. I've printed the item descriptions. I've got that down below. Custom items I've added to D&D Beyond, if any. And then I'm not doing the cardstock minis this time, so we're just doing 3D printed minis, which should be a lot of fun. That is it for the Netherdeep. I'm super excited to see how this goes. Really anticipating the end of this adventure. It's been a blast so far, and I'm hoping the end will live up to my expectations. Thank you guys a ton for watching. I truly do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. A huge shout out to my patrons, Cliff Climber and Tony. You guys are the best. We'll catch you in the next one.